Hey, welcome at Campfire Tales, where we bring you great stories right here on YouTube. If you like this kind of content, please consider to like and subscribe so you never miss a story. The next story is The Hoodie. In the vibrant and noisy streets of modern-day New York City, where the dazzling neon lights danced and flickered against the expansive night sky, creating a mesmerizing tapestry of color, the air was thick with a blend of all sorts of street food aromas and fumes of cars and buses. It was in this dynamic urban landscape that a solitary figure moved stealthily through the shadows, a silent guardian cloaked in mystery. He referred to himself simply as the Hoodie, a name that belied the gravity of his mission, for this unassuming moniker belonged to a vigilante who had taken it upon himself to shield the city from the insidious darkness that lurked in the hidden corners of its streets. This enigmatic figure, known to the world as the Hoodie, was actually a young man named Alex. By day, he seamlessly blended into the everyday life in Williamsburg, working as a graphic designer and traversing the crowded coffee shops and co-working spaces that buzzed with creativity and ambition. Amongst the clattering of keyboards and the hum of conversations, he was just another face in the crowd, unnoticed and unremarkable. However, as night fell and the city transformed, Alex slipped into his alter ego. Wearing his signature black hoodie and a mask that concealed his identity, he morphed into the city's unseen guardian, a silent protector watching over the vulnerable and innocent. Driven by an unwavering sense of justice, Alex found himself propelled into this dual existence by the profound experiences he had witnessed within his community. The struggles and hardships of those around him weighed heavily on his heart, particularly in light of the systemic inadequacies that rendered many helpless. He became increasingly aware of the stark contrast between the vibrant life of the city and the shadows that crept into its corners, threatening to consume those who lived there. The catalyst for his transformation into the Hoodie came one fateful night that would forever change the trajectory of his life. As he wandered through the dimly lit streets, he stumbled upon a horrifying scene unfolding in a secluded alleyway. He watched in frozen horror as a group of men menaced a young woman, their aggressive shouts and her terrified screams echoing off the cold, unyielding brick walls that surrounded them. In that moment, a tumultuous storm of emotions surged within him. Adrenaline coursed through his veins, mingling with a paralyzing fear that rendered him momentarily immobile. But above all, he felt an overwhelming sense of helplessness wash over him, a feeling he never wanted to experience again. That night, as he walked home with the haunting echoes of the woman's cries still ringing in his ears, Alex made a solemn vow to himself. He would never allow himself to feel powerless again. He would rise against the injustice he saw around him, doing whatever it took to protect the innocent and stand against the darkness that threatened to engulf his beloved city. Thus, the Hoodie was born, a symbol of hope and defiance in a world that often seemed indifferent to its most vulnerable inhabitants. As the weeks gradually transformed into months, the Hoodie emerged as a complex figure within the urban landscape, embodying a duality that resonated deeply with the community. For some, he became a beacon of hope, a silent guardian watching over those who felt vulnerable in a world filled with danger and uncertainty. Yet, for others, particularly those entrenched in a life of crime, he became a source of fear, a specter that haunted their nighttime dealings and illegal activities. He roamed the streets under the cover of darkness, gathering intelligence on criminal enterprises that plagued the neighborhood, and intervening when he deemed it necessary to protect the innocent. His methods were anything but conventional. He relied heavily on the art of stealth, the agility of quick thinking, and a handful of self-taught combat skills that he had honed through relentless practice and determination. The Hoodie had no desire for fame or recognition. His singular aim was to instigate positive change in a community that had long been overshadowed by despair. On one particularly tense evening, as the moonlight bathed the city in an eerie glow, the Hoodie found himself perched on a rooftop, his eyes scanning the scene below. He had positioned himself to observe a notorious drug deal that was set to unfold in a dimly lit alley. As he surveyed the gathering, his gaze fell upon a face that sent a jolt of shock through him. It was Marco, a former classmate from his school days. Memories flooded back, vivid and bittersweet, of the bright, ambitious kid Marco once was, full of dreams and aspirations. The stark contrast between that youthful spirit and the hardened figure now involved in criminal activities filled Alex with a profound sense of regret. It was a painful reminder of how easily life could lead someone astray, and in that moment, the hoodie made a resolute decision. He had to intervene. With a deep breath and a surge of determination, he leaped from the rooftop, landing silently behind the group of dealers who were engrossed in their transaction. The air was thick with tension, and time seemed to slow down as he prepared to act. In one swift, fluid motion, he deployed a smoke bomb, unleashing a thick cloud of confusion that enveloped the scene. Chaos erupted as the dealers, caught off guard, scrambled in all directions, their plans disrupted. Amidst the turmoil, the hoodie's focus remained unwavering as he zeroed in on Marco, his heart pounding with urgency and empathy. "Marco, this isn't you!" the hoodie shouted, his voice cutting through the haze, firm yet imbued with compassion. He could see the recognition flicker in Marco's eyes, a glimmer of the person he once knew, breaking through the facade of the life he now led. "Alex, is that you? What the hell are you doing?" Marco's voice was a mixture of surprise and confusion. "I'm here to help you. This isn't the life you want," the hoodie pleaded, reaching out in a gesture of solidarity and understanding. He could sense the weight of Marco's choices pressing down on him, the struggle between the person he used to be and the reality he now faced. However, the situation escalated rapidly as the other dealers, regaining their composure, began to regroup, brandishing weapons and positioning themselves defensively. The air crackled with tension, and the hoodie realized that the confrontation was far from over. He would need to navigate this precarious moment with both courage and cunning if he hoped to save his old friend from the clutches of a life that threatened to consume him entirely. In a split second, the hoodie jumped into action, engaging with the dealers who had been cornering Marco. His movements were a blur of agility and precision as he expertly dodged the wild swings aimed at him while delivering rapid, punishing blows in return. The adrenaline surged through his veins, heightening his senses and sharpening his focus, yet his gaze remained locked on Marco, the young man whose fate hung in the balance. After a tense and chaotic scuffle, where fists flew and the air crackled with tension, the hoodie managed to overpower the last of the dealers, leaving them incapacitated on the ground. He turned to find Marco standing there, wide-eyed and frozen in disbelief, the shock of the encounter evident on his face. "Why are you doing this?" Marco gasped, his chest rising and falling quickly as he struggled to catch his breath. "Because I believe you can be better than this," the hoodie replied, his tone softening as he took a step closer. "You don't have to stay in this life. There's a way out, a chance for something more." His voice held a sincerity that cut through the chaos of the night, a genuine plea for Marco to reconsider his choices. Marco stood there, visibly conflicted, the weight of the hoodie's words pressing down on him. He opened his mouth to respond, to perhaps voice the turmoil within him. But before he could articulate his thoughts, the distant wail of sirens pierced through the night air, growing louder and closer with each passing moment. The hoodie's heart raced, not with fear, but with the urgency of the situation. He knew he had to make a quick decision and vanish before the authorities arrived. "Think about what I said," he urged one last time, his voice barely above a whisper, as he turned and slipped into the shadows of the night, leaving Marco standing there, grappling with the choice between the life he knew and the uncertain path that lay ahead. Days gradually morphed into weeks, and during this passage of time, the actions of the hoodie began to capture the attention of the public in a way that was impossible to ignore. Some hailed him as a courageous hero, a beacon of hope in a city plagued by crime, while others were quick to label him a dangerous menace, a deranged individual that watched too many movies or read too many comic books. The police, feeling the pressure of rising public interest and concern, were placed on high alert, intensifying their efforts to apprehend this elusive figure who had taken it upon himself to challenge the criminal underworld. Meanwhile, Marco found himself in a tumultuous sea of conflicting emotions, grappling with the weight of his choices and the moral implications of his involvement with the hoodie. The memory of their fateful encounter lingered in his mind, casting a long shadow over his thoughts and actions. He was haunted by the realization that he was entwined in something far greater than himself, something that could either lead to salvation or destruction. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and darkness began to envelop the city, a breaking news report shattered the tense calm. It detailed a gang's sinister plans for a major operation that threatened to endanger countless lives. The hoodie, ever vigilant and aware of his responsibility, understood that time was of the essence. He felt an urgent call to action. He could not stand idly by while innocent people faced this danger. With a steely resolve, he made the decision to confront the gang head-on. But he knew that he could not do it alone. The stakes were too high, and he needed allies who could help him navigate the treacherous waters ahead. In a moment of determination, he reached out to Marco, who found himself torn between fear and loyalty. Initially hesitant, Marco weighed the risks and consequences, but the gravity of the situation and the bond they had formed ultimately compelled him to agree to help the hoodie. United by a common goal, the two began to devise a meticulous plan to infiltrate the gang's hideout. As they prepared for the dangerous task ahead, Alex felt a whirlwind of emotions surge within him: fear, anxiety, but also a fierce determination. This mission was about far more than mere confrontation. It represented a critical opportunity to save innocent lives and, perhaps more importantly, a chance to redeem a friend who had strayed too far down a dark path. Together, they prepared themselves for the challenges that lay ahead, ready to face whatever came their way in the name of justice. The night of the operation finally arrived, cloaked in darkness and charged with an electric sense of urgency. The hoodie and Marco, two unlikely companions united by a common cause, approached the gang's hideout with purposeful strides. Their destination was an abandoned warehouse, an ominous structure sagging under the weight of time, situated near the docks where the shadows danced with the flickering light of distant street lamps. The air was thick with an almost visible tension, a foreboding atmosphere that heightened their senses as they prepared to breach the lair of their adversaries. As they slipped through the creaking door, a wave of adrenaline surged through their veins, propelling them forward. Inside, the vast cavernous space echoed with the low murmur of voices, a disconcerting soundtrack to the nefarious dealings taking place. The hoodie took the lead, moving with the stealth of a predator, while Marco followed closely, his heart pounding in rhythm with the urgency of the moment. With every cautious step they took, the gravity of their mission weighed heavily upon them. Drawing nearer, they strained to catch the words of the gang members who were huddled together, their hushed tones revealing a plot more sinister than either of them had anticipated. The gang was planning to unleash a new drug upon the streets, a potent substance that would infiltrate vulnerable neighborhoods and ensnare countless lives in its destructive grasp. The realization sent a shiver down Marco's spine, but the hoodie's resolve only hardened. "Not on my watch," he whispered fiercely, determination etched deeply into the lines of his face. With a silent agreement between them, they jumped into action, fueled by a shared sense of justice and urgency. The hoodie, agile and quick, launched himself into the fray, his movements a blur as he took down the unsuspecting gang members one by one. Each strike was precise, each movement executed with the grace of a dancer, while Marco, inspired by the hoodie's bravery, found himself fighting alongside him. To his own astonishment, he discovered a well of strength and skill within himself, his fists flying as he battled the thugs with newfound confidence. As chaos erupted around them, the sound of fists meeting flesh and the shouts of surprise filled the air. In the midst of the fray, the hoodie locked eyes with the gang leader, a menacing figure known only as Viper. The air crackled with tension as they squared off, the atmosphere thickening with the promise of a fierce confrontation. Just before they started to fight, Viper put a mask on, similar to that of the hoodie, his way of taunting him and showing he's not intimidated. Their battle was intense, a clash of wills and strength, with the hoodie pouring every ounce of his energy into the fight. Just when it appeared that Viper had the upper hand, his ruthless aggression pushing the hoodie to his limits, Marco surged forward. In a moment of instinctive bravery, Marco tackled Viper with all his might, catching the gang leader off guard and disrupting his attack. This split-second intervention provided the hoodie with the precious opportunity he needed. Seizing the moment, he lunged forward, rapidly subduing Viper with a series of calculated strikes. The tide of the battle had shifted, and together they fought with a fierce determination that pushed them beyond their limits, determined to protect their community from the impending threat. The police arrived on the scene just as they had finished tying up the gang members, their hands securely bound and their faces twisted in disbelief. In that critical moment, the hoodie and Marco seized the opportunity to slip away into the shadows, their hearts racing with adrenaline. They found a vantage point from which they could observe the unfolding chaos, watching attentively as the authorities moved in to take control of the situation. For Marco, this was a pivotal moment. For the very first time, he felt a profound sense of pride swell within him. He had made a choice that felt right, a choice that aligned with the values he had long sought to embrace. In the weeks that followed, the hoodie transformed into a local legend. Tales of the gang's dramatic takedown spread like wildfire through the streets of New York, igniting conversations in cafes, bars, and on street corners. People began to whisper his name in reverence, and while the police diligently sought to uncover his identity, the citizens of the city began to view him as a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. Alex, who lived a double life, as both a dedicated professional and a vigilant protector of the streets, found himself navigating the complexities of his existence with newfound resolve. He felt an invigorating sense of camaraderie, knowing that he wasn't alone in his quest for justice anymore. Meanwhile, Marco, deeply inspired by the hoodie's courageous actions, made a life-altering decision to turn his own life around. He recognized the power of redemption and the importance of guiding others away from the path he had once walked. With Alex's unwavering support, Marco began to volunteer at local youth programs, pouring his energy and enthusiasm into mentoring young people. He hoped to share his experiences and wisdom, aiming to prevent others from making the same misguided choices he had. As he engaged with the youth, Marco felt a growing sense of purpose, realizing that every moment spent guiding them was a step toward his own redemption and a chance to foster a brighter future for the community. As the hoodie stood atop a towering building one serene evening, his gaze sweeping over the sprawling metropolis beneath him, he felt a profound sense of realization wash over him. Change was not just a distant dream, it was an attainable reality. He had begun this journey as a solitary figure, cloaked in the anonymity of his hoodie, but now he found himself entwined in a movement far greater than himself. The transformation he had ignited in others was palpable. He had become a beacon of inspiration, urging people to rise up and take action, to embrace the belief that they too could be the architects of change in their own lives and communities. New York City, with its vibrant energy and myriad challenges, stood as a testament to resilience and strength. It was a place where dreams were born, and where the untamable spirit of its inhabitants shone through even the darkest times. The streets echoed with the stories of countless individuals who had fought against adversity, and the hoodie felt a deep connection to that legacy. He understood that as long as there were those who dared to stand up for justice and advocate for their beliefs, he would continue to safeguard the streets he held dear to his heart. With a determined pull of his hood over his head, he steeled himself for whatever the night might bring. The shadows danced around him, but he welcomed them as allies in his quest. He was not merely a vigilante roaming the city. He had evolved into a catalyst for change, a symbol of hope for those who felt powerless. He was driven by the knowledge that every small act of courage could ripple outwards, inspiring others to join in the fight for a better tomorrow. As he surveyed the city, alive with the hum of life and the flicker of lights, he felt that hope was not just a fleeting emotion. It was a force that coursed through the veins of New York. It was a vibrant pulse that resonated with the dreams and aspirations of its people. He knew that in this city, filled with both challenges and opportunities, the potential for transformation was limitless. And with that thought firmly rooted in his mind, the hoodie prepared to embrace the night, ready to face whatever lay ahead, fueled by the unwavering belief that he was part of something truly extraordinary. If you enjoyed this video, please consider to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you, and until next time.